a lot of parents are concerned about socializing, and that can come from people who don't homeschool their children themselves. They think if you're homeschooling your children, they're kind of going to be isolated. They're not really going to be able to mix with other children, but that's not the case because in a lot of areas, there are actually homeschooling groups where they can meet, socialize with other children. The parents can even help each other if they have different areas of specializations or skills that they want to contribute. There's also the options of like community activities.
Hey, and welcome back to the podcast. We are here with Alison Roy, and she is in our Fast Forward to Success book. And her niche and her area of expertise is homeschooling. And Alison truly believes that parents are a child's best teacher. And she has a passion for equipping and supporting parents who homeschool their children. So, Alison, glad to be talking to you.
Yeah, nice to see you too, Robert.
So you say that you help out these homeschooling parents, and so where are they at the time when they find you? Do you talk to homeschooling parents that they've already started the process, or they're considering it, or like what's the before picture?
Yeah, so for me, how I got started was I was hearing from parents who were concerned about the mainstream education system and they were wanting to homeschool their children, but a little bit feeling a bit overwhelmed or not really knowing where to start or how to um, go about. Where I live in New South Wales, we need to get registered in order to homeschool. So there's a process that's involved in that. And so I sort of thought the skills and experience that I have through doing my university degree would be really helpful for those parents that are just starting out and wanting to understand, well, I want to go into homeschooling, but how do I start? Like, how do I teach my children and how do I get registered to teach my children?
And that makes a lot of sense that you, by being I mean, you're like being a teacher, right? You're taking these skills that you picked up and you're packaging it together. And that's really great to think about in general because so many people out there think, well, I have this skill and there's only so much time in the day for me to teach it like one person at a time or like do a class or something. But then there's also the hesitation of saying like, well, isn't this already taught? Don't other people already have homeschooling like training and education? But then you say, well, I have my own special way of doing it that's different than anyone else. Well, I know that we only have a few minutes to talk about this whole homeschooling process, but what's the short answer? If these parents say, I don't know where to start, I'm overwhelmed, where's even just like step one of this process?
Well, I guess step one is making the first decision that yes, this is the process that I want to do for my children. So once they've made that decision, then it becomes well, what is the first step? And to me, the first step would just be getting to know what the requirements are for your area, because depending where you live, because we're online at the moment, people could be listening from all over the world. So some places in the world require, as I said, where I live, a registration process. So the first step for people in my area would be like finding out, or even all over the world, do I need to register in order to homeschool my children? And then the next thing is really just, I guess, going through the process of understanding learning, like how children learn. Um, it's that's probably the most important thing, and to realize that every child learns differently. It's not, in mainstream education, it seems like they're all in the same class, they're taught the same thing. So there's kind of almost like an assumption that everybody learns the same way, but really just getting to know your children. So to me, if that's your focus is getting to know your own child and what they're interested in and how they learn best, I think that would take a lot of the fear and the overwhelm out of it because it's really just getting to know your child in a way that is focused on education. So I think that's probably a really positive way to start.
Yeah, that's very logical. That it's different in every area. So look up the bureaucracy, the red tape that's involved, and then I like your mindset a lot here when we're talking about well, when if your child goes to traditional schooling, then they might be in this huge class, and there's no way that the teacher has enough really attention to give every single student like the attention that they need necessarily. And then you mentioned there that a lot about school is very old fashioned, right? Like part of those components are from like Greek times, Roman times, and they haven't even updated that. And then who even knows what kind of weird things they're even teaching your kids. So it's good to have some control over that, but also have the customization and know your child so that way they get the attention that they need as far as making sure they learn these things, but also that it's more customized to what works for them. And then so those are kind of like the positives, right? Those are the pros. But I'm sure that these parents have a few concerns, right? Or maybe like just some uncertainties. Maybe like, well, I'm not sure if I'll be able to educate my kid very well or as good as the like these professional teachers, or maybe there's concerns about like socializing. So what sorts of just like hesitations do you see these parents having, and what's the solution?
Yeah, that's very true. I know that, yeah, a lot of parents are concerned about socializing, and that can also come from outside, from people who don't homeschool their children themselves. And then they think, well, if you're homeschooling your children, they're kind of going to be isolated. They're not really going to be able to mix with other children. But that's actually not the case, because in a lot of areas now, there are actually homeschooling groups where they can meet together, socialize with other children. The parents can even help each other if they have different areas of specializations or skills that they want to contribute. So there's those options. There's also the options of like community activities. So there's community sporting groups and various other ways that children can interact with other children. So from the socialization aspect, um, it's actually something that I don't believe parents need to be concerned about. Um, it's more just about, I guess, them looking at it in a different way. Like, how can we make sure that our children do still have that interaction with other children? And it will be in a different way to what the mainstream schooling system is, because they won't be in that classroom situation every day. So yeah, so that would be what I would say for those challenges with socialization. And yeah, and I know some parents would have fears about, would I be able to do that, particularly if they didn't have a positive experience at school themselves. Like, for example, if maths wasn't something that they were, confident in, they might think, well, how on earth am I going to then teach that to my children? But I would just be encouraging to those parents that there are a lot of resources available to help. So if there are areas, not to focus on the areas, I guess, that they might feel is a weakness for them, but look at, well, okay, if that's an area I'm not confident in, but I see as important for my child, like what resources are available that will help to facilitate that area, help them to learn in that area. So yeah, so I think the more that they're able to find out what resources there are, the more those fears will come down to realize, well, hey, I don't have to know everything. Um, and there are options, many different options that they can go down in their homeschooling journey.
And what sorts of options? Like, say, if the homeschool parent says, "I'm really bad at math, can't even learn it, can't even teach it." What are some of the choices available?
So there'd be an option of tutoring potentially, which would be like a physical tutoring, like where somebody house and can work through with your children on a particular subject. There's also online programs or curriculums that are designed specifically for homeschoolers, so they could look into whether they want one of those, either specialized in a certain area, or some programs have basically cover all subjects, and they can also be tailored to different areas. So, for example, in New South Wales, there could be a New South Wales there could be a curriculum, a homeschool curriculum specifically designed with the New South Wales government requirements in mind. So they know that when they do that syllabus that they're meeting the government requirements. Sorry, there's a fly buzzing around there.
Okay, so that's good to know that the curriculum and the requirements might already just be there to plug in. And I also assume, but I don't know, and that's why I'm asking that near the end of like the school like quarter or semester or year or something, there's like some amount of testing, right? It's not just like the government just trusts you to have taught your children these things. There's some kind of like test to be taken and sent in, I assume.
No, not that I'm aware of, actually. Well, at least not in New South Wales. They do have a requirement when they start the registration process for homeschooling where you need to be able to show how you're going to record the children's learning. But there's a lot of ways now that are recognized that it doesn't have to necessarily be a formalized test. So you could have samples of work, for example. You could have, um, what other sorts of things do they usually have? You could have like a transcript or what they call a learning story. So that's basically a written, um, sort of like a story, I guess, of what's been done and what's been learned through that process. So it's more about, I guess, keeping the records to show that your child is learning. And they also ask that um, the parents would develop an educational program or plan. So basically, and that needs to align with the government. Sorry about that. Yeah, so it needs to align with the government's requirements or curriculum. So in doing the planning before the homeschooling starts, they'll look at the government syllabuses and say, well, okay, I want to teach my child, for example, addition. And so in the government syllabus, this is where addition takes place, and this is what they need to learn in regards to addition. So it's really just more in the planning stage that happens. Sorry, I'm just going to switch this phone. I never get phone calls.
Except for at the worst possible time, right?
Exactly. So yeah.
Well, so have you seen or have you heard of any of these homeschooling parents get kind of really creative with this? Because I imagine that based on what you said, like there's the curriculum, there's like the bare bones of what they have to teach, but these parents can get kind of fun with it, right? Like if they're more of like in this religion, or if they want to incorporate like entrepreneurship or like business aspects to it. I imagine that can these homeschool parents kind of make it really fun and really like kind of like satisfy the curriculum, but make it like a different learning experience?
Yeah, they sure can. So yeah, so although there is, I guess, some degree of structure or requirements, at least in, as I said, in New South Wales, in other areas in the world, they don't have that same, I guess, rigidity in terms of you need to meet certain government requirements. In some areas you don't have that, but in the areas where you do have that, although you need to make sure it aligns to the curriculum, how you teach it, how long you spend teaching it, what you teach in it, it's largely up to you. And the government also do have um, ways that, you know, if there's something that you need to teach for religious reasons or something like that, there are times where they will consider those sorts of things as well. And so, yeah, they can have a lot of fun with it. And as I said, because children learn differently, each child is different and unique. You can really look at, well, for example, one child might be a really active child, and the best way they learn might be to do things with their hands. So you might be able to do something physically with their hands to learn a topic. Another one might find something visual very, that's what helps them learn best. So you may be able to do something more with photography or drawing or painting or something that creates something visual for them so they can learn the concept. So yeah, so they do have a lot of, I guess, flexibility in not exactly what they teach, but in how it's being taught and what's being taught within that. So again, for religious reasons, there may be in mainstream education the way certain topics may be taught. For example, evolution is taught basically as a fact rather than a theory, which is what it is. So from a religious background, you could teach it as a theory because that's what it actually is. And yeah, so
That sounds like a lot of fun. And so we mentioned all these things that were like me as someone who knows nothing about this kind of ask the beginner type of questions, but are there the questions that aren't being asked enough, or the topics as far as homeschooling that you think deserve more attention?
it's an interesting question. Yeah, I can't really think of anything right off the top of my head.
Well, that's okay then. In that case, does anything come to mind about things about like the future of homeschooling, or where it's headed, or where you wish it was headed, or something that you wish was part of homeschooling?
I think I'm really excited with where it's already starting to go. Like, I'm excited how even, for example, on Facebook, you can join Facebook groups that are all about homeschooling. So there's parents out there who have been homeschooling for a long time with different circumstances. Some might have one child, some might have lots of children. So it seems like social media has sort of allowed homeschooling families not to be isolated anymore. So they're able to come together, they're able to share ideas, they're able to, I guess, support each other in a way that hasn't maybe been as accessible in the past. And these groups that are starting to come up where they're actually, I guess, doing life together in a way. They're doing homeschooling together in that they're coming together, they're having these social events. Um, and again, that's a great encouragement for homeschooling. So it becomes more like I guess, more like a community of learners in a way. So I find that a really positive thing, but it's more focused on life. It's doing life as it happens now. So it's learning about life and through living it, instead of being in a classroom, I guess, which is more of a sterile environment that's not necessarily reflective of life. So I think that's a really positive direction that it's going in, and yeah, and I hope that it continues in that way, and I'm able to contribute to that, and also the assessment. I'm really excited how um, there's greater and greater recognition that you don't have to just focus on a test, that a test doesn't really encapsulate the learning that's going on as much as what I guess in the past it was considered that tests actually do. Like, there's a lot of factors that depend on, like how you are at the time, the fact that it's time, you've only got a certain amount of time, the fact that somebody else is choosing like what they expect you to learn instead of you being able to actually show everything that you've learned. So I think that, yeah, the movement away from that and into more, I guess, realistic assessments is a really positive thing too.
Because you and I, Allison, we've both known someone in school who was not very smart, but they were really good at taking tests, right? So some of these students, they just somehow know the right answers.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially with, yeah, multiple choice and things like that. I know when I was at school, if you didn't know the answer, you would have a guess. So again, it's
Just
not
choose,
really.
just choose C all the way down, and you do pretty well.
Yeah, exactly. So, again, that's not really testing what you know, it's testing whether you know how to do a test and pass a test really. Um, so to me, yeah, that's not as reflective as what some of the other assessment strategies are. So
Yeah, that will only get you so far. And this is really great because this is breaking a lot of the stereotypes that I heard, growing up in like the 90s, when you'd hear about like the weird kid must have gone to the homeschooling, or you'd hear about how homeschooling was so closed off and it was for, if someone lived way out in the country. But you're saying that now so much has changed, and now it's more about, it's kind of the opposite. It's the opposite of what the stereotype is, right? It's about having your kids more prepared for the real world instead of just this cookie cutter, sterile environment. And it doesn't even matter what country it is. Everyone seems to be unhappy with the education system in their country, right? It never has enough programs. It's never funded enough. And you always hear about these pipe dreams of, well, wouldn't it be great if such and such country's education system had all these add-ons and all these programs and all these things that were not so outdated? Well, guess what? Now it's time for you as a parent to be able to apply this for your own kid, and you could customize this and do it any way that you like. But it's a matter of navigating it. So if people hear Allison say, this homeschooling idea seems really great, and I know that I need some help with it, no matter where I am in the world. What's the next step? How do they find out more about you? And what's the website? What's the next place to go?
yeah, yeah. Well, I have recently created a website, and I'm in the process of developing a course, which is basically to help parents to get knowledge and understanding about the different aspects of homeschooling, the different aspects of teaching and learning, and so that they do have that knowledge and that understanding, and so they can. And to me, that then builds confidence. It then shows you, you know what you're doing, you know how children learn, you know what type of assessment options there are, and then you can move forward from there. And so, yeah, so part of the website, I'm also doing some, well, podcasts and YouTube videos and blog posts. So, and those ones, again, it's just really focused. My heart is just to help the parents. I just want them to be able to learn and to grow together as a family, and to support them, and I guess also to encourage other people to look at homeschooling as an option. Like if you have courses out there, and resources again out there, um, for people to gain that understanding, to gain that knowledge, then more people maybe then looking at the homeschooling as an option as well, which I think would be really great for the because yeah, to me, for the children, the best place for them to be is at home, and learning and growing together as a family. So that's just really where my heart is, just wanting to support that. And because I have studied education at university, I do have, I believe, knowledge and skills that I can, I guess, impart or be a blessing to those parents. So that's where my heart is for developing the website, and also developing this course that I'm developing.
Fantastic. Well, you're on an amazing mission. And if someone wants to go to that website, what's the URL, the address?
www.alisonmanoukian.com. So I've actually
Allison,
recently got married. So my married name is Manoukian, and my yeah, my unmarried name was Roy. So I'm in the process of now changing over my name. So
and my wife has the exact same problem. She did business with one name and now doing business with the other name. I mean, what a problem to have. So AlisonManoukian.com, and we'll spell that out just in case. AlisonManoukian.com. AlisonManoukian.com. And as we say goodbye here, Alison, and sign off, do you have any final parting words of advice?
just have fun. Enjoy the process, enjoy the children, and um, yeah, and just enjoy your homeschooling journey. And